Hey class, Mrs. Gilling back here to go over your Unit 5 video assignment all about the biological basis of behavior. But before we do, our joke of the unit. I know it's your favorite. Alright, joke of the unit. Why did Waldo go to therapy? To find himself! Get it? Where's Waldo? Decided to find himself. Like literally, but... Alright, am I aging myself here? Is Where's Waldo still a thing? Hope so. I hope so, because he's pretty cool. All right, let's get into some biology part of psychology and learn some stuff here. So something you're going to learn about this unit is the central nervous system. And the central nervous system, by definition, is the division of the nervous system that acts as the control center of the body and is responsible for processing and analyzing information as well as relaying messages. So the control center is kind of like the boss. Okay, it's the boss of our body. It tells things where to go. It tells messages where to go. It is made up of your brain, up here at the top. Hopefully you knew where your brain was. And your spinal cord. Those big spine that goes down your back over there. It has two very important roles to it. The first role is that it conducts sensory information to make people aware of the world around them. So all the senses that you have, like smell, touch, all of that stuff, if it weren't for your spinal cord, it probably wouldn't work, probably wouldn't happen. All that sensory information comes from our spinal cord. So extremely important. The other thing that it does is that it transmits and carries information to places in the body and muscles that helps people move. So I wouldn't be able to do this, or give a thumbs up, or high five, or big stretch. Couldn't walk if it weren't for the central nervous system. So it kind of like sends signals, it goes up the spine to the brain, and it tells us what to do. That's why sometimes when people are paralyzed, if that back's broken and the signal's cut off, it can't get to the brain, it can't tell people what to do. It doesn't work properly. So super cool stuff. A very important part of our body. Has a lot to do with psychology. Pretty cool stuff. The next thing you're going to learn about is the endocrine system, also an important system in our body. So the endocrine system is a series of glands that produce chemicals called hormones that can have an effect on different systems in the body. So hormones, if you're not super familiar with them, in a nutshell, they're chemical messengers. They're chemicals in the body that go and tell other parts of your body to do something. The hypothalamus is the part of your brain that's the boss of the hormones. It regulates the hormones. It tells them where to go. It actually generally sends the hormones. It produces neurohormones, and those hormones travel to the pituitary gland. And then the pituitary gland provides signals to release other hormones, and it sends hormones to all sorts of other glands in your body, and then those glands produce their own hormones. And so it's literally kind of like the post office. Like, when you order something off Amazon and how you order it and then it goes first to this this drop-off station, and then it goes to this other one, and then the Amazon Prime truck gets it, and then it brings it to your house, and you finally get it. There's steps. It's kind of like that. The brain is the hypothalamus. That part of your brain's the first order station, and then they send it to the next part, and that's the pituitary gland, and then it finally ends up with the resting hormone. The final gland, I guess you could say. Hopefully that's a good analogy. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Makes sense in my mind. But it ends up where it needs to go, the final location. The prize box is at your house now, and it's doing the job that it needs to do. If that didn't make sense, hopefully this part does. So some of the important hormones that we have in our bodies that will probably sound familiar are testosterone, and this supports the development of the male reproductive system. So without testosterone, males wouldn't be able to really reproduce. It's an extremely important hormone in that sense. Estrogen is similar, but it supports the development of the female reproductive system. So with low estrogen, if you don't have enough of that hormone, it's difficult for females to reproduce. There's also endorphin. You've probably heard of this one before. Endorphin's like the happy hormone in a sense. Like that's the one that you're running, and that's what really gets you active and physical. It blocks pain signals in the brain is what it's actually doing. And that's why I don't know if you've ever been playing a sport or something and you've got hurt and you didn't really notice the pain until later on, is because you have so many endorphins pumping through your body that it's blocking that pain from getting where it needs to go. And same thing, like you get scared and you don't really notice everything that's going on. Like it's kind of the fight or flight thing they talk about, when you're able to like do super crazy things in stressful situations that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. It's because of endorphins. Your body's blocking pain signals and you're able to just get things done. It's super, super cool hormone, if we're being honest. So that's the endocrine system. It's also, along with our central nervous system, put these two together and amazing things happen. Oh, oxytocin, that's the last one I wanted to talk about. That helps with milk production. So if there's a mom that just had a baby, they're producing milk for their baby, it is through oxytocin. It's that hormone that allows that to happen. Excuse me. The next thing you're going to learn about is neuroscience. And this is the definition. The science that studies the nervous system, its relationship to other systems, and the techniques used to study it. If you're a science geek, I would definitely recommend going into neuroscience. There's a lot of cool stuff involved here. Part of neuroscience is that a big contribution that it's made is that it has led to different imaging techniques that we have today. Here's some that you'll probably recognize. So there's EEGs, there's CAT scans, there's MRIs, PET scans, and fMRI scans. All those things are from neuroscience. It's cool stuff. So these techniques, they detect electromagnetic signals that come to your brain, and they're able to see all sorts of different parts of your body. But the interpretation of these signals can create some ethical concerns. So because of these signals and because we're able to detect them, we're able to do these fascinating things like having these different scans to figure out, if people are sick and what we can do to help them. But it creates some danger. So one cool thing that's happened is, and you'll read this in your text, there's a group of people that created a video game that people are able to play with just their brains. They don't have to use their fingers or anything. They just think what they want it to do, and it does it. Like, awesome stuff. And that's cool. They did that by looking at images of the brain, and they were able to create that. One part where there's an ethical concern is that, let's say someone's given a scan, and in this scan they're showed the color red. And let's say that when they see the color red, signals are sent off, and those signals are interpreted to show that that person's angry, okay, and that they're mad. An insurance company, a car insurance company, might get a hold of that information. And they might go, whoa, this person gets really upset when they see red. And there's a lot of red cars on the road. And guess what else is red, guys? Stop signs. And guess what else is red? Stoplights. And if they get mad when they see these things, then they're going to get in a whole bunch of accidents. So we're going to need to raise their rates through the roof. I wouldn't be very happy if I was that person. And so there are ethical concerns to think about too in these different sciences. They have to be very careful, these scientists, to make sure that they keep the information in the right hands and that they're doing things in appropriate manners so that things don't get out of control. Because while those signals are a science and they can definitely show that those signals are being sent off, the interpretation of them is a little bit trickier, and that's not always 100%. Still fascinating, and definitely recommend you learning more about it if you're into science. It's really cool. The last thing you're going to learn about in this unit is nature versus nurture. So the textbook talks about nature as being involving knowledge. And the nature idea of the argument is that all the knowledge that we have, we're born with, we just have to tap into it later on in life. The nurture camp says that knowledge is gained from our environment and experiences. So we're born with a clean slate without any knowledge, but we gain knowledge as we go along. So that's one way of thinking of it. And an easier way in my mind of thinking of it, and maybe just a different side of thinking of it, is genetics versus environment. Do we do what we do because of who our parents are, our biological parents and who they are? Is it our genetic makeup that determines if we're going to be angry, that determines how successful we are, or is it our environment, the experiences that we go through, or is it a combination of both of those things? What you'll study in throughout the unit is that really both can have an influence on a person experiencing certain conditions. And so one of the things that they'll talk about in the textbook is depression, and how, as scientists have studied depression, as psychologists have studied depression, as doctors have studied depression, they've realized that there definitely is a hereditary component, a genetic component, that if a parent has depression, there's a likelihood that their children can have depression as well. But there's also an environmental condition where they've been able to see that different aspects in the environment, maybe different situations that people could go through, difficult situations, that can lead to a person having depression as well. And so it's never a straight shot with nature versus nurture. It's always kind of have to look at both sides. But this is something that, if the further along in your education you go, you're going to learn more and more about, not just in psychology, but in different fields as well. Fascinating stuff, and it'll keep you on your toes for sure. But that's what I got for you this unit. That's just a brief overview for you. If you have any questions, as always, please let me know. But what I'd like for you to do now is go and complete your video assignment for me. Answer those short questions so you can get credit for watching this video. Thanks, guys. Hope you're having a great day. Bye-bye.